This morning was a perfect example of it. See, I've been fine up until this. You know, it, I don't know if I'm streaming or not. The reception here is obviously fucked. Short of it is, apparently I was supposed to be in court on August the 19th as well. So my lawyer calls me on the 14th or the 15th to notify me that I should have been in court the day before, but he neglects to tell me you got to be here on the 19th. I don't know whether I'm streaming right now or not. And now, because I got 2 meetings in a week, which is what I was required to do, the judge said, it looks like you're barely doing the minimum. I would like to see you doing more meetings. Hey, well, I would if I could. Lawyer says, don't argue with the judge. So I can't argue. I can't defend myself. I can't argue my innocence or anything else. It's all what you fucking say, huh, Maxine Waters? This is a clear example of those threats that they've been leveling for the last year against people. They've been doing this to me for 30 fucking years. To the point where it's obvious that what they're trying to do is destabilize me, but they think they're teaching me a lesson to calm down. Well, let me see you go through 1 week of my life and see you stay calm, you pieces of shit. So you're going to help meth addict, methamphetamine psychosis, pedophiles, rapists, murderers, liars, hypocrites, and all around pieces of shit. It's all you help are pieces of shit. I know, because I know the criminal records of the people that you powder their fucking asses around here. Oh, I'm sorry. Were Special Forces personnel involved in eradicating marijuana and stuff during the 80s and 90s or whatever? Well, it wasn't me. Oh, are you guys the ones mad at me because I wouldn't participate in that? Which side is mad at me? You're mad at me because of my association with them. They're mad at me because of my association with you. Fuck you both. I hope the terrorists fuck you in the neck. Because I ain't going to come to your fucking rescue. Me and none of mine are coming to your fucking rescue. You're on your fucking own. More stand down. Hey, what happened last time? Didn't a Secret Service agent have a heart attack, Trump? So I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to do a stand down, removing protections and blessings of certain other types. Because obviously, you fuckers are still doing it. And obviously, the past week, with everything I've had to deal with, if I was the problem, I would have been a lot angrier, right? Up until I go to court and I hear this obvious abuse of power, obvious use of the courts, by whom I don't know, to deprive people of their rights while allowing pieces of shit to go free. Remember David Andrews, was it David or... what the fuck was his name? Anyway, some guy that murdered his wife. You guys were just going to give him 10 years temporary insanity. But the guy said he was going to do it again and again and again. Anybody that ever did that to him. So, all right. Oh, good. That's good to know. So I better calm down or somebody will call the cops for me being too loud. You can be loud. You can smack your kids. Your dog can shit in front of the cop shop. You guys, you see, you're going to suffer. You're going to find out what it's like to be attacked. You guys don't defend yourselves. You attack anything you perceive as a threat. And if you find out it's not a threat, you guys fabricate a threat and pin it on whoever you did dirty because you can't make amends. Oh, but if somebody like me or somebody else gets upset and you get emotionally hurt, really? So you guys that are somewhat, emotional dynamos and stuff, when you can play the victim, you guys do. See, you guys play the right-left paradigm too well around here. I'm sorry. And when some whatever starts talking about emotional whatever, well, I don't know everything that happened, but I've heard that too many times for you know. Now, if you can claim that, if you can do all that, and I hope I'm broadcasting it. How come I can't? I'm the one that's had a traumatic life. I watched my father murdered, my birth defect. Let me see, the time that I grew up in. Let me see, poverty. Let me see, homeless as a child, even. All these things that I hear and see other people complaining about, and say, please help me, I'm a victim. And some of them are, but I see a lot of people doing that, and you guys aren't, because I've known some of you for over 20 years, 30 years, or whatever. Each time I see you, your stuff hasn't changed. You're still bitching and complaining and playing victim. But then you tell people that I'm the one doing that? No, I actually have had a hard life. You guys created your own hardships with your fucking overuse of stimulants or other substances. You drank yourself into wet brain. Now, trust me, I understand. Like I said, I'm an alcoholic myself, right? So I really can't judge anybody for that, right? But what I can do is look at look at it and go, well, now I know what it's like to work on things. I know what it's like to deal with certain things and all that, right? I also know what it looks like and what it's like to not deal with things. To tell people that you are. The only reason why a bullshitter or a liar can tell a bullshitter or a liar when they're bullshitting and lying is because you do it yourself. But here's the thing. Bullshitters and liars can be fooled. Or they could be set up to level false accusations. A lot of little games you guys don't know about. Why? Because I do keep my mouth shut about a little bit. The key points that would give you what you need to get with this. So when I was told, Joel, we need you to deal with this, they're killing us out there, I'm sitting there going, what the fuck are they talking about? Oh, our guys that work with whatever agency, law enforcement or whatever, the black helicopters and all that, right? So guys that I might be whatever with, they were attached to whatever. So they were probably being sent here, right? Because of all the marijuana and heroin and all that other stuff, right? So that's probably what he meant, that I forgot, the reason why they were being taken out. However that is, because it could be a metaphor, taken out, whatever. It could mean killed, it could be undermined, it could be set in trap, whatever, right? So now I know what it was about. So that's probably why one side, whatever. Well, hey, if I have a family member or whatever, a brother that has a job to do in law enforcement or something, or with them, and they're not a rat or a snitch, whatever, while I might stay out of that, right? The minute one of my brothers starts murdering you or whatever, or you start doing it to them and their families, I'm going to step in some way, shape, or form. I'm either going to go talk to my brother or whoever it is. I'm using brother as just a term right now. And say, hey, man, what the fuck you guys doing? You need to stop. Just like I'm saying to you. Yeah. I think that's what happened. And because of my neutrality in certain areas, it's probably why I was, the one that as well as somebody knew that I would be fair and accurate and all that other stuff about it, right? So fuck you and fuck you. Fuck you, FBI, DA, whatever. And fuck you, growers. Fuck you both. You both participated in fucking me off for how many years? Talking shit behind my back for how many years? You're wondering who the fuck, and you're wondering who the fuck. What, nobody gave you the fucking memo? Oh, no, he's not law enforcement. No, I'm not here for you. It's guys that work with you or attached to you when you go out and you do this, that, or fucking whatever thing. Or the ones that are training your FBI HRT. Yeah, I'm giving some stand downs. I don't know what's going to happen when I do that. I don't make those detailed decisions, do I? But it seems like I might have some kind of say in something somewhere. Especially if Secret Service agents fall asleep on Obama. People start hopping the fence, right? Or when I finally have to say something while Trump's in office, one of them has a. Right? Sorry. I think I get better reception over here. So that's why the agents fell asleep on him, because Obama was the problem back then. Now one has a heart attack. So that tells me the president's no longer the problem in that area. It's somebody in the protective security detail areas, which would be closer to my stuff, I guess, right? So when people are saying that they're going to do whatever they can to fuck the cops over, and somehow how many times did I ask? Oh, finally I got reception. Cool. How many times did I ask? Was I okay, I show 13 minutes. It says live, so I'm going by that thing. So how many times did I ask if I had a court date? Oh, damn, everybody left the parking lot. Did I scare everybody off? Oh, no, there's one car there. So yeah, how many times did I ask if I had court? Deprivation of rights under color of law. They sit there and they say this to you, that to you, whatever. They tell you you're in big trouble. So you rush around, you're worried, then you get there and it's all good. Yeah, we're don't worry, we're not going to stick it to you. Like, thank you. Now, I still don't know who's responsible for this fiasco, but whoever is probably going to pay a heavy price at this point, because I'm assuming that whoever's orchestrated a lot of this has caused deaths of good people. Probably deaths of police officers and growers alike, military personnel. So what about extortion 1-7, huh? And why would a Marine go, oh, yeah, who's the murderers? Huh, Obama? Huh, Hillary? I'm waiting for them to find that fucking evidence. Yeah. Extortion 1-7 was a hit. You want to know why? Because at least one of them lived here. So if there's that, and that going on, and people know that there's at least one SEAL in it, Is that it? People thought I was the one that was on the eradication stuff. So how'd you guys know about? So y'all knew about me, but you never said anything because you thought I was undercover. Is that it? And then I'm getting fucked over here, here, and here on all sides because each one of you thinks I'm working for the other one in secret. Oh, so that's why I stayed out of a lot of your little fucking bullshit arguments and take my side, take my side. I'm like, I can't take your side or your side. I have to look at this as more of a tribal thing, you know, like this part of the tribe and that part of the tribe and that part of the tribe have equal places in society until society deems that it can't deal with it anymore. And then it will get shut down or whatever. Now, I don't know why certain people are doing certain things. Here's the thing, at some point, this is what always happens. You fuckers that make mistakes too often, that are legitimate mistakes, you're going to get held responsible just like it's doing it intentionally. Because if your silence is compliance attitude, your silence is compliance. You've sat by and you watched this take place. Some of you know me since fucking high school. So, 21 Jump Street. See, I would not make a good undercover cop because a lot of the stuff they do puts their lives in jeopardy and other people's lives in jeopardy, or they're in jeopardy, whatever. Concern that I'm not willing to risk my life doing. Right? Why would I risk my life busting people for drugs or what the fuck ever like that when it's more of a fisticuff kind of thing in my mind? Somebody's acting out too much, they're getting drunk, being stupid, being belligerent, selling drugs to kids, whatever. They get their fucking ass whooped. Right? That's how you deal. But warfare, terrorism, shit like that's just downright to the death shit, right? So, you know, I put things in their proper place as far as I am. That's what choice I have in life. These people have tried to take my choice. They knew what the fuck I am. Exactly. Some of them have corrected their path or whatever. Some of them haven't. Some of them are still oblivious. Some didn't know what the fuck's going on. I don't know what they're up to and behind their scenes and their little fucking cubby holes or whatever. But I've been completely open and honest and transparent about most of it. Just I'm not going to tell you how to fucking get away with shit that belongs in warfare. You know, the kind of shit that they might drop a fucking nuke on your ass over. Do you fucking understand? I'm thinking about nukes, terrorism, and shit. That's my, you know, cause and effect. You know, okay, this leads to this at some point. But I'm stuck in this environment with this chump change bullshit. And I'm being put into positions where I have to defend myself. Now, for you, that's just a fucking punch. That's just, ooh, let's fight. Or let's lie. For me, it's rules of engagement. Do not fire unless you're fired upon. And meet it with graduated violence. If you go beyond graduated violence, you fucked up. And now the courts say I can't even have a drink because of my training. So the courts know about my training, huh? So why do I have to give 150%? what I'm court ordered to do, for some reason, somehow, all they have to do is request that I do a little bit more to show that I'm doing my minimum. Obviously, things might be working out all right for me if I'm doing my 2 a week and I'm not fucked up and I'm not broken down on the side of the road, flipping out or whatever. I thought I had also paid this $50. I got a fucking. There's another $50. Fuck, I thought I paid. It's like, and that's how much back and forth. I was hoping that after this, I wouldn't have to drive back to Ukiah, but no, I have to come back to Ukiah on the 18th. It's the middle of the month. I get paid monthly, and the gas in this is, it doesn't matter how efficiently I have this running, this thing's going to eat gas. I had to run back to Lake County yesterday after I got here. No, it was the day before. No, yesterday. Fuck. Yeah, yesterday. Because the insurance company needed me to take pictures with this app they have of my truck for the damage that had occurred while it was parked. That cost me a quarter tank of gas. So yeah, my gas mileage is doing better, but that's still $20. And with all the breakdowns and having to starting all the time, when the engine dies and you have to starting an engine takes more gas than letting it idle. It used to be the rule of thumb was if you're just going to be letting the engine run for 15 minutes, just let it idle. Anything over 15 minutes, then you're going to be using more gas than it takes to start. You got like 15 minutes of run idle time on the average, from what I remember, equals how much gas it takes to start. So if your engine dies 5 or 6 times, that's 5 or 6 times 15 idling. So I wonder how much gas I would go through if I sat here and let this idle for an hour. You think I could afford to crunch those numbers? Or should I just go, okay, yeah, that's why it's costed me a little bit more than I wanted. But I'm dealing with it. So I'd really like to know, how is it that somebody like me gets lost in the shuffle? And how people become this arrogant and this knowledgeable about certain things, yet they're not knowledgeable as in the been there, done that, or was there, because they would have other little details. So it looks like they've just gotten access to a file or a set of documents or something. And that's how they arrived to some of their conclusions. But they knew. But then they act around others like they don't know. So I believe that would take somebody in the White House at this level. It would take a president to have fucked me like they fucked me. Now, why was I worried about Hillary Clinton being elected? See, do I sound like I'm a violent man? Do I sound like I hate gays and people of color and women? Do I sound like a misogynist? Do I sound like a sadomasochist? I don't know. Sound like a pedophile or a rapist? Do I sound like a terrorist? Huh. So what am I being accused of today? Oh, today apparently I'm just a drunk alcoholic. When he drinks, gets a little volatile, and people were so worried about me being violent because they knew of my capabilities, I guess, before I realized the extent of it. The joys of induced amnesia, huh? So really, I didn't tell on myself. Did I? I didn't go around bragging. you kind of would have to have a memory of that kind of shit to brag about it, wouldn't you? Even right now, I don't brag about it because it's like, well, I have spotty memories of things, but matter of fact, there's things that I remember and recall and get reminded of that I don't mention. Not because there's a negative thing towards me about it or anything negative I did or any of that or on other people's parts. It's just there are details that I prefer to keep to myself that really don't do anybody harm, but it gives me points of brown M&Ms. Now, anybody familiar with Van Halen and David Lee Roth, go look up the whole thing about brown M&Ms. Why they did not exist backstage of Van Halen. So, when I caught wind or overheard, well, who's he with? What car is he in? Car is, I guess, a jail term or whatever. It's your race. It's your racial classification or your gang affiliation or something. It's not a cop term. It's a convict term. Sorry, I didn't mean to say convict, but you know what I mean. So when the cops think I'm some big time drug dealer, and the drug dealers think I'm some DEA agent, and I'm sitting here going, well, I might have been asked to go work for them or do some work with them or whatever, but maybe I turned it down, and you know, maybe I turned certain things down because I'm a spike, specially prepared individual for key events. But what does that preparation connotate? What exactly am I? What am I specially prepared for? Assessment and analyzation of the sociological and psychological direction that individuals or groups are going in based on observation that has a limited amount of information coupled with it. Yeah, it's right up my field, actually. It's what the tests all said, too. High levels of abstract reasoning can figure shit out with little information. I don't need every little fucking detail of something to figure it out, or what you're saying or doing. I don't need you to fucking read me off a fucking encyclopedia of what the fuck you're doing and what's going on. Just give me a simple rundown. If I could fill in the gaps. And where I have a question, I'll ask. Sorry if some of my questions seem a little bit whatever. But that's why other people don't ask those questions, is because they know how they would take it. Well, that's because you're thinking in a biased fashion, which prevents you from asking certain questions. That same biasness also prevents you from answering those questions in an honest fashion, because you're offended that somebody said, well, you were there. Did you have anything to do with it on either side, good or bad? Oh, you're not going to answer for fear of incriminating yourself. Well, this isn't a fucking court of law. You can't plead the fifth out in the fucking battlefield or the spy game, can you? So you see why I don't participate in certain things? Because when you start blurring those lines between war and law enforcement too much, it's just, especially for somebody like me, because I will look at that in detail and look at that in detail, and it would just cause too much cognitive dissonance in my brain to process this and process that. So I don't go there. If I need to focus here, focus there, let me focus, okay? Don't come at me with this over there while I'm over here doing that. unless we're talking biochemical warfare. But see, there again, I piss everybody off because I look at the dealers like, well, this is why it sometimes is a good idea to have the CA or somebody else running the drugs in. That way you control the flow. You get a little extra money for your black budgets, and you can test it for you start catching on that I'm filming off the phone I have to use until I get everything situated. Yeah, like I said, I had the whole insurance thing happening during all this, and you see, it's like normal life stuff doesn't bother me so much. Even when everything's fucking falling apart, breaking, or whatever, if the ability to fix it's there and the resources are there to fix it, even if it takes a little extra work because resources are limited and you have to move stuff around, okay, fine. But when you go to court and one or two people have the ability, just by what they say, to take your freedom, and even if you win your freedom back, your life has been severely disrupted. Your job, your bills, your family, you. So when it happens to people that are innocent, how come we don't act like a piece of shit criminal selling drugs to your fucking kids that gets snitched on? How come he gets to go beat somebody up, get revenge, intimidate people, and gets away with it, but somebody like me gets a little upset about injustice and says, man, I really feel like breaking a motherfucker off. Break their nose, whatever. All of a sudden, I'm a fucking terrorist or something. It's like, no, what you fucking did is fucked up. I tried to tell you to stop. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. You're looking like a real idiot. You're wrong. How come I don't get a chance to defend myself, but you have all these opportunities to attack me? Why? What's your major malfunction? And see, here's another thing I have to remind myself. This is on me. See, like what I said about resources and repairing and stuff like that you can deal with. It's a little stressful, a little time consuming, a little tiring at times. Is I transferred money from one account to another account, but for some reason it takes 2 to 5 business days for the transfer to complete. So until that happens, the money's tied up from here to there. And I totally spaced out a $50 bill that I need to pay in cash, check, or money order. They don't do electronic. So, you know, but that'll get taken care of in the next 2 days. It's just I don't want to have to drive back here to Ukiah to make sure a bill gets paid on time. As you can tell, my faith in the local bureaucratic system of transferring paperwork is damn near fucking zero. If I don't hand it in myself and get a confirmation of receipt with fucking witnesses and documented and triplicate, I'm nervous. So when you people here that are supposed to be emotional dynamos complain about your emotional trauma caused by somebody, well, your own family fucked you up and your kids up and your neighbors up and whatever, and you're complaining because somebody outside your family caused an emotional. I'm not talking about anybody in particular. I was reminded of this, and it's no way judgment of the person that had mentioned it either. Just in case somebody gets a feeling and thinks, well, he's pointing at me. No, I'm not. I just was reminded of something. See, people get reminders. But see, when I get reminders, I don't take it out on the person that reminded me of it. See, just because I remind you of something doesn't mean that I'm doing it or that I did it or that I'm anything like it. I might just be dealing with something similar to that lying sack of shit that lied to you about it. Well, that was a lie they told you. And then you found out that they were doing something different. Well, I'm not telling you a fucking lie. My name is not fucking Bill Brockbrader. Nor is it Joel Oppenheimer. Nor is it David House. Nor is it Eros Marshall. How did Eros stay out of jail all those fucking years? She did one night in jail finally. Now this woman, she was court ordered to marry a 17-year-old, did you know? Because she was pregnant by the 17-year-old. And he was court ordered to marry her because he was on some kind of probation. So you see what I mean? Use of these courts. I didn't know courts could force people to get married. But this is a liberal community, right? Oh, I guess that is a liberal thing with somebody that's damn near 50. But she's a woman. By the courts, is made to marry a 17-year-old. I didn't call her a pedophile, but that's damn near borderline, right? I mean, oh, but David House, wait a second, he was over 50 when he was with a 17-year-old who is the daughter of the director or head of the psychiatric hospital in St. Louis, Missouri, which I found out how David House met her was probably through. But how do you meet the daughter of one of the guys that runs the place? That's weird and creepy, huh? And then I find out that General Mangum, or is it Brigadier General Ronald S. Mangum, who is in charge of Korea SOCOM, pretty fucking high up there in SOCOM, right? Pasty motherfucker. You're gonna fucking help that motherfucker and that. But me, fuck off. Like I said, to do what fucking was done and shit like that, and then people to act like this, that, and the other thing with me, that's that would take somebody in the White House. Maybe a general or two, maybe an admiral or two, rear admiral or whatever. People of that rank, but still would take a president. I guess I could have a big ego about it. So now here's a question. It's hard to figure out who's acting on the behalf of Hillary and who the fuck ever and who's just being a dumbass. So at some point, what's going to happen is just all the dumbasses and those intentionally doing it are going to suffer the same consequences. It doesn't matter your intent anymore or your motive. You fuck up, you fuck up. This is the way it is. Sorry. Right? Kind of like, ignorance of the law is no excuse to break the law. Ignorance of who you're fucking with and why you're fucking with and your assumptions. Well, because you don't like me, but you see this person, and this person playing this fucked up game. Well, what would happen if I was fucking some mafioso or some high level fucking politician and some nobody started fucking with me while I'm trying to deal with these other fucking players? I'm getting my fucking heels nipped on by you little fucking chihuahuas. Financially, fucking economic attacks. Half the shit I go through is economic attacks and politics. And if I don't fucking do something perfect, exemplary, 150 fucking, or no, 210 fucking %, you guys know I'm not living up to my potential. You know I can give it a little bit more. Yeah, I always hold back a little bit. That's how you survive a fucking war. You don't fucking run yourself into the fucking dirt when you don't have to. You keep a little in your fucking reserve tanks for when you do need to go full bore, all out, don't give a fuck, get through it and survive. So, that's just how I think and how I am. And that cigarette's done. I need to roll a whole cigarette. So I'm not mad at really anybody. I'm just like sitting here going, no, it's discrimination. It really is. It's because I'm not a buddy fucker. It's because I'm not making any deals. I don't need to make any deals. I don't participate with them on that side. No, I don't participate with them on that side. You're gonna have to get your own. You're gonna go have to find some other undercover or some other whatever. That's why I'm not doing anything to put me in a position where you could tell me I have to, or I'm gonna go to prison for a long ass time. So I just don't commit those kind of crimes that might cause somebody to make a deal. And I don't do that over there primarily also because of the criminal element over there. I mean, what happens if they do the same thing that you guys do in a sense? But you know, they're threatening to blow my house up or firebomb or whatever. So I, you know, the juice ain't worth the squeeze in my thing, you know. I'm sorry, whatever, but something like this is better used in other areas than whether or not you think that marijuana is deadly or whatever. That's the basic gist. You know, but heroin and meth and all that, no, I don't want to be around those fuckers because they fucking piss me off. I would not make a good undercover pert. I'd want to kill half those fuckers if I was around them too long. Just because of how they, just the lifestyle. It's not the sub, you know, it's not them being whatever. It's the lifestyle. It's the constant lying and manipulation, you know, all the little white lies, the lies that don't need to be told, all that fucking shit, the whole fucking 9 yards drives me nutty. You know, the way I look at it is, you better be a fucking spy or in a fucking battle if you're going to be that manipulative with lying. You know, it's just how I am. It's the extreme. I understand that on some levels, the war on drugs or whatever is important, and it does save lives or takes lives, or you know, I understand. But my thinking's not geared for that. While I'd be good at it, it's not something that I could, let me put it, emotionally tolerate. How's that sound? Because growing up, I knew a lot of fucking hippies and drug addicts and junkies. And it's not because we were involved in all that. It was just that's what was around in the 70s kind of thing. And so I knew about people overdosing and shit early on in life. You know, and that's why I told myself I wasn't going to do anything but smoke weed and drink until I turned 18. So until 18 years old, I didn't do anything but smoke weed and drink. Which is kind of like, almost like being a teetotaler nowadays, huh? What are you, Mormon? All you do is smoke weed and drink? You Mormon, Puritan, or Amish? Right? So, once again, why don't y'all think about the severity of this? Because if people on the criminal end of things, if you want to put it that way, figure something out or realize something, and people on the law end figure things that whatever, realize something. No, I ain't just talking about the drugs or this, that, the other, But involved in the drug world and other stuff, you got human trafficking at times. At times. Unbeknownst to a lot of the people that are dealing. But, you kind of, in that environment, you don't pry. You pay attention. And when somebody's talking about pimping and prostitution, you don't know what age they're talking about, right? Or whether or not the person that's doing it is consenting to do it because they like the money and they don't mind having sex and getting paid for it, right? So you don't pry, whatever. And then there's a lot of shit talking, rumors and whatever, and false accusations. So a lot of stuff doesn't really get paid attention to, yet it does get noticed, to where it leaves a big open space for shit to happen, like human trafficking, sex slavery, shit like that. Um, so on both sides, you have these shadows, and when people find out why people are doing certain things, and it's because people on the law end and on the outlaw end were being manipulated by a group of pedophile pieces of shit and sent to attack me and fuck with me because somebody knew that I would be able to fucking snoop it and hunt it and, figure out the Franklin cover-up shit. Alright? Like I said, it take a president to cover that shit up, doesn't it? Go look up Franklin cover-up. How'd they cover that up? They got... The Discovery Channel did a documentary. It was getting ready to be aired, but for some reason, right after Clinton got elected, that documentary got shut down. All copies of it ordered destroyed. But wasn't Larry King a Republican? So the documentary got made during while a Republican was in the White House, but it got shut down when the Democrat got in the White House. So if you take a closer look going back to 75 or so, or maybe even a little bit before that, you figure out that the investigation of a crime happens by the Republicans. The cover-up after the investigation gets done by somebody in the Democrats. Which makes sense because the liberal mind would be more forgiving and, oh yeah, it's the fucking truth of it. While the conservative mind is more the accounting, auditing. You got to know what crimes you're committing in order to know which crimes to cover up. You need to know what to cover up, so what's the best way to figure out how to cover something up? You order an investigation by some good investigators that'll snoop here, snoop there, just so that, kind of like what a politician does is they have people look into their background before they run. Say, hey, what can you find on me? What kind of shit out there is on me that people are going to be able to find before I run? See, they're just checking to see what fucking holes they got in their background that somebody can walk through. So they did that with Operation Dormouse. They fed the public MK Ultra. Oh god! See, now I'm going into some complicated stuff that is fucking 50 years old that plays a very significant role today. So you got a lot of people moving up from the Bay Area and other places back in the 70s, mid 70s or so, maybe a little bit, whatever. You got to understand that some of them were involved in some of these projects and programs as psychologists and psychiatrists and people like that. So where would you hide if you were one of them? Oh, you go live with the hippies, huh? For several reasons. God, that would take like an hour to list the reasons why people would make that choice. Dr. Richard Allen Miller is a prime example. He knew Bob Marshall, actually. He spoke of them. Now you'd think because me and Bob smoked a few joints together. Oh, Bob was a heroin addict, by the way. I'm pretty sure that's common knowledge. So maybe he and Richard were into some, you know. Don't you think that's interesting? How could Dr. Richard Allen Miller run around and skate through all this, acting the way he does? Somebody like me gets hounded left and right. And, oh, it's because of some of my friends? Well, my friend answers for himself, right? If he's dealing weed or whatever, well, oh, what, did he sell a joint to your kid and you're pissed off about it? Oh, you're worried that he's going to. Well, I don't see him hanging out at the high school. Yeah, if somebody's selling meth or something at school, that's a different story. But that's been going on since when? Oh, wasn't it the Iran Contra affair and all that? I remember Yuri Bezmenov said, today's villains will be tomorrow's heroes. How's Ollie North doing? He'd probably have access to special access programs and stuff, just like Brigadier General Mangums did. Or did he retire as a general? Yeah, just looking at Mangum, it's like I'd question him just because of how pasty he looks. But that's just a bias based on appearance and based on my experience with people that are that pasty. I'm not talking white, I said pasty. There's this weird sheen to certain people's skin. It doesn't matter what race they are. I don't know what it's from, but it's just I've had bad experiences with people with that kind of complexion. Kind of funny, huh? That I'd notice weird things like that. Could be a chemical imbalance. Could be something in their diet. You know, hormones. I don't know. You ever wonder, like, yeah, I don't know. You gotta also take into consideration that moods and emotions play a role in your hormones. All that. I'm sure eating pussy compared to sucking dick plays a dietary difference somewhere. I don't know. You ever wonder about that? If your hormones change slightly depending on. Anyways. So yeah, questions and shit I think about usually are pretty I think about something and I arrive to an answer pretty quickly. And then it takes a fucking room full of people a few months to fucking look up all the statistics or whatever, or to run some kind of study to find out what the numbers are. And quite often, I'm well within the ballpark. So people try to figure out how do I do it. And I just think about it. I just logically process it in my little fucking pea brain. It's kind of like an arrow. It's like, okay, I see he's standing in that direction. His bow is pointed in that direction. So I'm assuming the arrow is going to fly through the air in about that proximity. And let's see how close he gets to the target. If he's standing in that direction, the arrow's not going that way, is it? Or if he's holding the bow backwards. But then there's a style of bowmanship. I think it's an Asian style, Japanese in particular, I believe, to where after they let the arrow fly, the bow is facing them. So you wouldn't be able to judge the direction of the arrow based on that if it was a Japanese style. Unless you were familiar with the Japanese style and knew that the arrow went in the opposite direction that it looks like after he fired it. So thinking about these twists and turns in logic and following a path and trail and tracking it can be very difficult for most people. Whether it's life experience, I don't know. So, yeah, court was not fun. My lawyers, don't argue. I'm like, I'm not arguing. I'm explaining. I'm answering a question. I'm like, well, this is why. And how am I? Oh. Let me see. If in August, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. If I did about 8 to 10 meetings, that's almost 2 meetings a week, right? So, okay, I got 2, 4. Yeah. So now I'm going to have to get in 3 meetings a week just to be on the safe side. I don't know how I'm going to do this. What, am I going to have to go live out on a fucking airport road or some shit just to make sure that I'm close enough to the fucking meeting? And while avoiding that dickwad that attacked me? That's pretty fucked up, huh? Just because of my training, somebody can attack me and I get the charge? Well, you were drinking. It wouldn't have happened if you... Yeah, when I'm sober, I'm pretty good at avoiding shit. When I'm sober, I just take the weapon, throw it in the bushes, and restrain the person if I have to, but usually after I take the weapon, they walk away. But when I was drinking, it's like, no, I gotta end this quick. Which means, it takes more time to take a weapon and throw it into the bushes than it does to take the weapon and use it on them. Because usually a lot of the times when a take move, it also incorporates the follow-up of using that weapon on the person you just took it from. So you got to stop yourself from doing that, throw it in the bushes. Just like when somebody comes up and puts their hand on your shoulder, and person you flinch, that's not because you got PTSD, that's a fucking normal reaction. And the anger and the tension and the stress comes from holding yourself back. It's like a rubber band. It's like somebody flicking the back of your ear. That shock. And when people do it to you enough, you might form PTSD. You want me to tell you how to induce PTSD? I think some of these fuckers need it, so they get a taste of their own fucking medicine. They play victim, but they fucking create this havoc. I didn't do anything. I just came up and walked up behind you and gave you a hug. I just wanted to hug you from behind. So, and I know a lot of people have had to deal with this shit, and they wondered if that's what the fuck was going on. Well, yeah, that is what the fuck's going on. I spent over 15 years fucking taking mental notes of the patterns, the causes and the effects. And everybody wants to turn it into a political thing. Like, well, it's not about politics for me. It's about fucking life. And if life is political, well, okay. Since when did life enter politics? I'm trying not to be mad at the courts and their whole attitude, but I get it. They expect more from me. So they expect more from me and all that, but I don't get my benefits or anything else. I don't get my file, but I'm expected to conduct myself as what an officer would. Should I stop saying fuck? And not only that, but it's fucking hilarious. And then the fucking attack on my mental health, the slanderous diagnoses by certain people in the mental health field. That's defamation. That's slander. That's misuse of an office. That's deprivation of rights under color of mental health knowledge. How the fuck should we put this? If people want me to be all intellectual about it, then fine. Let's go to a fucking congressional hearing. Anyway, I can come in there all fresh after staying at a Holiday Inn. My beard trimmed, my fucking hair trimmed. Drink a gallon of coffee. Of course, don't smoke weed for a few days prior so that I'm sharp and firing on all cylinders and can articulate myself in a highly intellectual way. I'm not some fucking imaginative stoner intellectual that could sit there and use $64 words while they're stoned off their fucking ass. I didn't grow up doing that. I'm not conditioned to do that. When I do that, I'm not stoned. When I get all technical and detailed and shit, right? Why would I be like that? Part of it's to be honest. Because by being like that, it gives a person a way to gauge how to take what I'm saying. Yeah. If I ain't smoking weed and whatever, my emotional state is subdued. I'm a little bit more emotional when I'm stoned. Because when I don't smoke weed, I can start, it's like an Energizer bunny, and people get intimidated or they think that I'm on dope or some shit. Or they get jealous because I can't keep up. And I'm sitting there going, well, it's probably because of my medical abnormalities. The difference of blood flow and adrenal glands and shit like that. That and when I smoke weed, I eat more, which when you eat more blood flow goes to your stomach. So I end up with more blood going to my stomach rather than it all going to my brain. So it's a very physiological thing. Very scientific and very medical. But somebody with my education and how I talk shouldn't know all this or be able to figure it out. I'm supposed to just be some country bumpkin. Well, I'm not from here. I was born in San Diego, mainly raised in San Francisco. So as far as, I don't know, I guess San Diego's a bit of a redneck place. It's a military town, ain't it? Marine Corps Highway, come on. How more military can you get? So yeah, it bothers me that it seems like there's these major gaps in my life and these weird ass little flash memories that I don't know whether to trust. I mean, imagine, and then the way people act and all this other stuff over the years, and then finding out that what I know is not common knowledge. Oh, I thought everybody knew this stuff. I thought that, okay. guess I watch more news than most people. Oh my God, when headline news came out in the 80s, I was in heaven. Wolf Blitzer was the man. Back then, I don't know. So, if people don't want me in their hair and they don't want to worry about me noticing something or catching on to something, then leave me alone to go do that where I would prefer to do that. The only problem I see in all that is, well, what if that's the problem is you guys are involved in that, or some of you, or one of you, and that some of you or that one of you convinced the others that you had to do this, that, or the other thing, or whatever, whatever, whatever. But you didn't know that that other person was involved in something that would be something that I would desire to hunt. But, anyways, what does a hound do? Right? A hound, when you just say the word hound, it could be like Hound of the Baskervilles, Hound Heaven, Hound Dog. You know, it's a dog that's doing something, right? It's going after something. So, but what kind of hound dog am I? What if I'm like an alpha hound or something? Somehow we had a diseased one get in the White House. I don't know. Anyways, fucking hyenas. So, oh yeah, those last few hits did it. Now I'm feeling right. Yeah, I'm just a little stressed about the 18th because I got to make sure that I'm here on the 18th. And I have all my meetings in. I go get my truck today, find out where this other place is, you know. Fuck. And then they're like, well, there's a lot of meetings. Oh, yeah, here in town, yeah, there's a lot of meetings. But you don't know whether I'm living in Ukiah or not, even. That's how much you fuckers pay attention. That's what's bothering me here is my own fucking therapist didn't know I had family in the county. Most of you, he's without a support network or support group, or no family, no that. I'm sitting there going, huh? Well, yeah, I guess they aren't being very supportive or whatever for whatever reason, but I can't blame them because of all this shit defamation and whatever. So they're gonna fucking think the worst, you know, based on what they've seen and what they've heard the past few years. And I understand it, so I'm not fucking, you know. And why should I sit there and rope them into my legal stuff and oh, let's put on a show. You know what I see? You know, a lot of the people that I see put on those shows. I hate saying this because sometimes it's legit, and whatever. But you know, when people that are committing crimes are just fucking off and they don't want to listen to authority or whatever, a lot of those people tend to bring in their moms or they go in for their kids or whatever, and they fucking damn near start a protest or oh he'll do better. How many fucking he'll do betters have you said in court for your kid? For some reason, now we listen, huh? Oh, but see, you're locals. I keep forgetting there's a difference between me and you. I have nieces and nephews that are locals. I have in laws or whatever that are locals. Um, few siblings. Oh, I guess that would include uncles in law. I found out that, well, I don't know if it's an in-law or what, but like if I have a niece or a nephew that's related to somebody, because of their mother or their father or whatever, does that make them in-laws, or are they now family because there's a blood relation? I don't know. I wonder how people categorize shit nowadays, because they've seen people redefine certain categories kind of thing before. It's weird. Why not just stay with the standard? Anyways, so you see right there, it's like, well, what is a local? I've been here on and off for 30 years. Yeah, I have family here. You didn't know I have family here? I thought you were a local. Oh, not everybody here knows each, and because my name, well, I don't think there's another person in the county with my last name. There's a canyon over on the coast that has my last name. So there must have been at least one or two here 100 years ago or so. Or somebody named it that after some friend of theirs or somebody they knew or whatever. Or maybe that canyon's a real fucking hellhole and they didn't like, so they called it after, I don't know. But usually when they use people's names, it's because it's to honor somebody or it's their last name themselves or whatever. So, yeah, what connotates a local? What connotates roots? What connotates what? If it wasn't, I mean, if you want to talk about family and all that other stuff, and well, how can you have local pride? But I'm not supposed to have any pride in my ancestry and things we've done and ownership. So you're gonna own the local subculture and all that other stuff, and you guys are world renowned for your marijuana. Hey, good job. You guys are known for growing some good weed. I guess that's an accomplishment. Probably curing people of ailments. Yeah, fucking right on. Maybe someday it'll be just as honored as something like, I don't know, Coast Guard, or how your signet was redone, or your nuclear this, or your counter or your this, that, or the fucking half dozen other things. Yeah, it's probably equal to that. I mean, but you're probably gonna have to wait to see that come to fruition to ride that fucking high horse, which I know you will because of what I've seen your egos already display. But if I bring up my stuff, just what I've done in my life, but then if I go into my ancestry on both sides, well, you're welcome for your Bill of Rights, and certain other things. Oh, you're Native American. Well, I think I'm part Abenaki, but that's not what I was talking about. I'm talking about like 3,500 years ago. So you guys get things confused. What most what was most contributed by the tribes was the concept of confederacy of the states, stuff like that. Each state is like a different tribe in a confederacy. They didn't give the fucking Bill of Rights in the Constitution. There's not. I haven't found a Constitution in any Native American. I mean, there's probably aspects that are very similar, but no. The Iroquois and others did not have a. Actually, it was the Abenaki, which my grandmother was part Abenaki. They're the ones that had a completely equal society. Even the kids had a right to vote. Everybody was equal. It was one of the very few societies or civilizations that's been found that practiced complete equality. It's a very rare thing. It's very rare to work too, but it worked for them. They were one of the few that could make it work. Now, when you have a society like that, yeah, there's no overpopulate, whatever, because each different family functions like its own little family unit, and everybody in that family has an equal vote in the family as well as the tribe. Sure, it took a long ass fucking time to make decisions that way, huh? Because that also meant here's the other thing. The entire tribe had to be in unity with any decision. If anybody said no, it was a no. And they would discuss it or find another option. But everybody had to be on board and say yay for it to happen. But one no. Or if 99 said no and there was one yay, then it would come back for discussion until they were all no, or he made his case an argument, which might be part of the reason why I'm the way I am. So actually, yeah, there are certain tribes that have had aspects of what we call the Constitution and Bill of Rights and all that, but no, that's not where we got it. Came from several places, for one. So not one group of people can really own it. But to take away and apply something from one place to another place and then to it's all a fucking game of confusion. Keep them guessing. That's I mean, people want to know how complicated the fucking grand conspiracy is. You know, well, certain people that keep everybody guessing, keep you divided, and a certain level of tension, get you paranoid. Most people live paranoid. I'm actually the opposite of paranoid. I'm too trusting. And then I get upset when somebody goes back on their word, especially after they fucking blathered on about how they keep their word or some shit. And then they're a real stickler about it in front of everybody. And then they expect everybody else to keep their word. And they make a big fucking point. But then when it comes down to it, oh, they'll lie. Oh, no, I didn't say. Oh, no. Well, if you. Well, I got drunk afterwards, after you didn't keep your word, because what was the point in staying sober? Just to fucking suffer a little, just to fucking think about it too much? So I got drunk and vented. It wasn't appropriate, but that's what I did. What about what you did? See, the start of the conversation was about what you did, and we were discussing that and the solution, but then you brought up me. It's not about what I did in this conversation. Now, if you want to bring up what that's unassociated and personal. I didn't bring up that I went and got drunk over this. That's what triggered me and whatever. But now that you brought it up and you're shaming me for it, you think that you're going to win the argument in the court and everything else. But no. Why can you do that, but I can't? How come I can't hold you responsible? Oh, because some of you have family or whatever, or some of you that hold certain offices or whatever, illegal or legal. Politics or outlaw politics, I don't know. I try to stay out of all that. I'm nonpartisan to a fault. I guess I am kind of like military, huh? Right? Isn't that supposed to be the mindset of people in the military or in intelligence? Is you remain nonpartisan and unbiased as far as politics goes? You try to stay out of everybody else's race relations other than your immediate vicinity, and you ask people to at least respect one another while you're present. You let them know that you're going to be intolerant towards their intolerance. Shit like that. Yeah. But as far as their politics, stay the fuck out of it. I mean, I'll vote every now and then just because I look at it like, well, okay, I guess I'm voting this party. See, I don't get to vote in the what do they call it, the selection or whatever leads up to the primary. I don't even remember what they call it. I'm nearly 50. But the only time I ever really get to vote is in the primaries, right? That's when nonpartisans get to vote. We don't get to have any part in your Democratic choice or your Republican or whatever, Green Party or whatever choice. And I'm down to 20% power. So, that's just That's the basic gist of it, right? It's kind of fucked up. Don't you think I should be able to vote whatever party I want in the preliminary elections or whatever they call it? I think I should. So how come I don't? Oh, I don't know whether this is charging or not. So it is what it is, right? Inequality for your protectors. Now, when did that happen before? Oh, Rome and the Praetorian Guard. See, what's going to be happening at some point is there's going to be something taken out, and they're going to allow the military to operate on American soil. Oh, I think they can under the Patriot Act now, right? Because the theater of war has moved to a global theater. So I'm sitting on the battlefield right now, and so are you. Which technically, if some general or somebody wanted to make an argument, they could argue that. Why are you getting that? Well, because as politicians abuse their office, these law enforcement officials have abused their office. You guys are now killing each other over this, that, or whatever other thing, and now you're involved in that and that and that. And we got these jihadis, and we're trying to figure out which ones believe in jihad and which ones believe in jihad, right? Well, I'm getting shafted in this particular area in one degree or another for 30 years. Yeah, it's gone. For me, it was right basically when I got here. Thanks to my stepdad and others, I got targeted. Not by everybody, but enough by people like Judge Lehan. I can't believe it. There I am, 18 years old. I just gotten a ticket for minor under the influence of alcohol. I also got a ticket for contributing to the delinquency of a minor. You know who that minor was? I was the minor. I got arrested for being under the influence as a minor, being under the influence of alcohol at the age of 18 in California is a big no-no. But I also got charged with contributing to said minor. So, yeah, deprivation of rights under color of law. Ultimately and technically, it basically amounts to something akin to double jeopardy, huh? So how many times has that happened to me? But for whatever secrecy reasons, because I don't get to make a big stink, I can't defend myself, I can't get public opinion behind me, I can't be Mr. fucking movie star or whatever, for whatever fucking reasons that I want to tell these credit cards, you'll get some money when I sell my truck, or maybe next month, but with what the court, how should I prioritize this? The courts or the credit cards? So while my credit rating's going in the toilet, which is one of those things that keeps people from getting security clearances, why would they be afraid of me having the ability to get a security clearance? I thought you guys already destroyed my security clearances with your false diagnoses and my alcoholism. Why would they be? Why would all these things equate to? Well, I'm pretty sure if you're diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic, on top of being an alcoholic, on top of having a really fucked up credit score, would disqualify somebody from having a security clearance. Now, I don't know if any one of those things would disqualify you, but I'm pretty sure all three would together. Which kind of is a concern because I'd hate to think that we have paranoid schizophrenics with security clearances, but with how I've been treated by certain people and the arrogance that they've displayed, if one reflects the other, if a leader or if a follower is a reflection of the leader, right? Then there's some people in the intelligence community, law enforcement community, and outlaw communities that are paranoid schizophrenic that for some reason people are still listening to. Or is it trickle down? And I'm still dealing with a few. That way you guys need me back on the 18th. Okay, well, just make sure I can afford it. Don't give me any more stress. Lay down some cover fire in certain areas, for God's sakes, right? I can't do it all on my own. You might think I can't, but I can't. Right, isn't that what I got sent in over there? So why wouldn't I do something like that here? Go and talk to the tribes. I don't speak their language. Oh, we got somebody that'll. Okay. That and I have this way of communicating with people that don't speak the same language that I do. I know it's really weird. We tend to get along. I've sat there, I've lived. There's this one place I live in a harbor or on the coast, and me, this one Mexican guy. He was a little bit older. It wasn't weird, but he didn't speak English. I didn't speak Spanish, but we sat there and got drunk together, and we understood exactly what one another was saying. We were watching football, all that. We pick up fewer, whatever. But yeah, we hung out a few times actually. We didn't speak one another's language at all. So, oh, speaking of, so I trip out on that sometimes. So yeah, I wonder sometimes. I need to learn Spanish someday. Did you know that certain psychological, they can, see, how did they put it? There's a certain trait that bilingual people have. They have a different thought process. Yeah, it's because of the multitasking, the translating between two different languages in the mind. So, I don't know what else to talk about at the moment or say, other than apparently I was supposed to be in court on the 18th or the 19th as well. Nobody told me. And I've called my lawyer on numerous occasions. So how come he didn't tell me that I had court the 14th? How come he didn't tell me I had court on the 18th or no, the 19th of August? So the public defender's office is trying to screw me for some reason. So it's pretty fucking easy to triangulate. They did this before. They almost had me under some mental health conservatorship because somebody came up on me from behind, and I started to restrain the person. Kept their hand here. And I turned as I turned. I kept their hand under my control until I turned and assessed the situation. And it was a police officer, so I let go. I didn't hurt him in any way. I didn't, other than till I saw that it was a police officer. My hand was on his hand because his hand was on my shoulder from mine. It's a simple little Aikido move, but I had to go to court over it and argue and state my case. I had to basically represent myself because, yeah. So it's just a case of that again. And here again, it's somebody that hates the cops. Well, I'm not a cop. Maybe I'm more like Jack Reacher. That you just hate cops, okay. But I'm not even an MP, am I? Why would somebody that's a military police smoke weed? That just doesn't make any sense. I think the only people that get away with that or whatever, and they're still relied on, are somebody that is highly specialized in something. You know, like an old gunny sergeant or warrant officer. Yeah. They might get away with puff every now and then. It's just because you can't replace experience. You can't replace talent. You can't teach experience. You can't teach talent. So if you have experience and talent, well, obviously there's some training and skill in there too. So you might get away with a little bit more than others. Which would then cause people to become jealous. Oh, your teacher's pet. No, I fucking earned that smile from that teacher. I earned the ability to interrupt the teacher with a question. Because usually when I ask a question, it's a question that the rest of the class needs answered, but people are too afraid to ask a question. All right, I'll ask a question. And the teacher doesn't want to point out what question needs to be asked because she doesn't want to undermine the class's confidence or what the fuck ever, or the class to start thinking that the teacher thinks they're a bunch of dumbasses for not. And then you end up a thing where you assume that something that you think is common knowledge is known by others because it's an everyday thing for you. So you don't think that there's this question that needs to be asked or answered, which is where somebody like me comes into play. Like, well, for you, it's an everyday thing, so you assume that the class must already know if they're not asking that question. The class is sitting there going, and then they figure they'll get the answer from somebody else. And if nobody knows the answer, then somebody will raise their hand. But then at the end of the class, nobody's raised their hand, and they all assume that somebody else either knows the answer or would have raised their hand. So if nobody raised their hand, then they start asking their classmates what the answer is to this question that they don't want other people to know that they're asking. So even after half the class asks the other half the class, they're all still keeping it a secret because they don't want other people to know that they, until somebody like me, again, notices this person didn't know and this person didn't know. And then I open my big mouth and go ask questions. And I find out the other half of the class didn't know and my half of the class didn't know, and I'm sitting there going, damn, I should ask that question. So sometimes I get caught up in it too. But at least if it's after the class, I'll figure it out and I'll mention it, and then I'll go find out the answer, and then I'll let everybody know. So, yeah. Why am I nonpartisan? This is why I'm nonpartisan, is because that's how I think. I'm sorry, you get to be gay, lesbian, whatever. You get to be white, black, or indifferent. You get to culturally appropriate. You get to be Native American when you're not Native American or whatever else. But I don't get to be me because I scare you. Well, Stone Cold Steve Austin drunk off his ass and pissed off at you would scare you, wouldn't it? So why don't you go attack him? Because he never got drunk around you, or he never scared you, or you don't see any reason why. But me, I scare you for something? Okay. Usually I'm doing something or you're doing something if it scares you. Like somebody's doing something if somebody's scared. Sometimes fear is based on paranoia, a perceived threat that isn't real, right? Sometimes it's based on, well, I've been attacked by people that sound like that and look like that. So you were investigated or questioned, or you hung around a few spooks or something that were suspicious, or they were looking for something, and you were a suspect, and it emotionally traumatized you. So you assumed that I must be just like those guys. Okay. Go read the book Psychology of Intelligence Analysis, and think about what a naturally occurring thought process might be like, or how similar mine is to something like that. But I didn't go to class or school to learn to think like I think. I learned to think like I think based on what life presented me. I didn't go to. So I get a little upset because I'm sure some people think that I'm slighting their class time. Well, a little bit. Because you study shit to emulate somebody or something, right? Or to become. So what happens when somebody just comes around? Somebody that has a few chapters that they could add to that textbook because they've learned it through doing it over an extended period of time under high levels of stress. So in an academic setting, learning it, I might have fun, right? People might take it wrong. Because it's exploring, it's learning, it's process, it's right. It's personal for me, right? So I might be a little bit more passionate in certain areas, just like a gunny sergeant or a warrant officer would be, right? Isn't that what a warrant officer is, by the way? Somebody is highly specialized in some area. Why wouldn't there be some warrant officer in psychological warfare? Shit like that. Military intelligence. You know, whether I am or I'm not, for one, people have gotten away with some really fucked up shit just in my life. Just towards me because of people's perceptions or lies, and because I don't have a military file that's easily accessible, I suppose, unless you hacked the Pentagon in the late 90s, which I'm trying to figure out how my file ended up somewhere that it could be hacked. Like I said, I do remember certain things and how certain things were supposed to be to prevent certain things. So in some way, well, see, I wouldn't be in the amnesiac position I'm in unless somebody had done something. So yeah, it's kind of like that movie Paycheck. By them taking from me and coming at me sideways, they basically told on themselves. If they would have just let me alone, I would have just figured I have crazy dreams, this, that, and the other thing. I'm watching too many movies. I'm psychic or whatever, right? I must be astral traveling in my sleep. And and witnessing certain things that most people don't know about. So, I would have chalked it up to that. So, who do they have to blame? Well, what would have happened if they just had left me alone? Like I said, whatever happened, whatever, but in the future, probably, I don't know when it starts or whatever, or when it's going to start. Like I said, I'm not God. I don't handle details like that. But at some point, ignorance isn't going to be any kind of an excuse. You're going to suffer the same consequences as if you intentionally did it. Right? That's why you can't attack public. That's why most people, you're not supposed to attack public. You're not supposed to slant shit like that. You got to know what you're talking about if you're going to say anything. Because, the public figures or whatever, they don't, with what they're supposed to do and what's on their plate, they don't have time to defend themselves constantly. And they're afforded certain protection or more immediate protections concerning certain things. Because they just don't have, but it shouldn't be done to anybody. It's more immediate for the public figures, right? But because the fucking whatever classifications, special access program stuff or whatever, that gave people cover to fuck with me. Because, well, they can't, they can't, because it'll divulge this or that, So basically, you're protecting the enemy. You guys are harboring enemies of the state, enemies of the people. Technically. You guys want to get technical about... Yeah. Ouch. Because they convinced you, right? So now that you know, you have to just stand down and just be decent and let it blow by or whatever. Because that way the real issues can be addressed and dealt with. But to jam me up or whatever, or to ask me to go beyond 100%, it's just, that's childish. So, I don't like telling people that they're being childish, but when I do, I'm not as angry because I'm being honest. It's part of where some of that anger comes from is I'm holding some of this stuff back. Like, hey, you're acting, you might think I'm being childish or whatever with my attitude, but no, my attitude's because you're being a fucking dumbass and you have the authority of a full-grown adult with an office and this, that, and the other thing, and you're acting like a little spoiled fucking cunt. Thinking you're going to prove something or whatever. What are you proving? That you can be just as inhuman as the people you're complaining about? Yeah, I suffered shit from them too. Especially when they thought I was Mexican. Oh yeah, I know what Mexicans go through. Because I've been treated that way too. But I'm not even Mexican. So I was offended in several ways. I was offended for, it's like, how do you know that I might not be an embarrassment to Hispanics? I'm not representing myself because I'm not. And if I embarrass myself and it's a reflection on anything that I am, I'd rather it be on what I am rather than somebody else. It's part of being accountable. So what I get offended about is quite often different than what others would be offended about. That is just fucking wrong to treat a human being that way. You see, that's how ignorant people are. But see, even Mexicans think I'm Mexican sometimes. So, who's at fault? Yeah, I'm nonpartisan. It shouldn't matter. But no, I'm not. So really, then there was somebody that thought that I was racist towards African Americans because they assumed that my stepfather was African American. And this was from an African American that made that assumption and violently attacked me because he was convinced that I was a racist. And he was convinced I was based on the abuse from my stepfather. No, my stepfather was Sicilian, actually. He had really curly hair. So one of my siblings had hair like that. So this gentleman had assumed that my stepfather must be African American. And because the abuse I suffered from him, that I was supposed to be racist because of it. Even after corrected it, it still fucking went around. Sorry, I don't carry a picture of my stepfather in my wallet. I don't think I'm sorry. I'm just not going to answer certain calls until I have something to give them. But I'm even getting calls from some AT&T bill that I had paid over 10 years ago. But I paid it right when they were selling it to a collection agency. Yeah, that's the other trick, is they do this and then it's split into two and AT&T has receipt of that bill being paid. But because I paid it at almost the exact same time they sold it, well, they received the money for the bill. But they also sold it to a collection agency. The collection agency doesn't have their databases. So I keep telling them, well, you need to go talk to AT&T. They have a receipt of my payment of that exact amount on the same day that was sold to you guys. So yeah, there's all these little things that I sit there and I go, is this just a fluke, coincidence, or is this orchestrated? So yeah, all you Christian, whatever, love the military, just keep it to yourself. I don't want to fucking hear another fucking hypocrite bullshit, motherfucker. No, that's why some don't like Memorial Day or whatever, is because it's just like, that's what Veterans Day is for, isn't it? What's Memorial Day for? Oh, thank you for your service. You're thanking me for his death. What kind of idiot are you? You know what I mean? It just gets fucking old. Bunch of buddy fucking motherfuckers. Yeah, and that's what they do, is they, you know, fuck. People fucking say I'm a veteran or whatever. I'm like going, well, I don't have DD-214. I'm still waiting to see my file. I think you have to be 17 to join the military. So if you never really joined, can you ever really leave? What happens if you start off in some JTF kind of thing? You know they have a lot of different people there other than military, right? Yeah, I guess I'd be categorized as military by some. But there's others that could technically categorize me as something else. And then you're all listening to these conspiracy theorists that say we're all fucking assassins or fucking sex slaves. Well, who got hurt at the fucking congressional hearings back when Clinton was in office? Oh, a couple of women that were saying they were sex slaves to some doctor. Oh, and they were assassins too. You didn't hear from any men or anybody with any evidence. It was just all hearsay. All hearsay. And that's how they managed to discredit everybody. So when somebody does come up with something and you know there's abuse of power in office and whatever, people call you crazy because the pedophiles, that's their little fucking shtick, right? Oh no, she's just a whore. Oh no, that kid's just crazy. Nobody raped that kid or that person. They're just crazy, right? So don't you think they would use the same methods that they're good at? Pedophiles and rapists. That's their go-to fucking defense. Is their victim is just crazy. I noticed that about some retired spooks too. But their wives really are crazy. You'd fucking have to be crazy to be married to a spook. Or they'd fucking marry a crazy because that way, if their wife does fucking find something that they shouldn't or whatever, they could just, oh, she's just fucking crazy. Don't listen to a word she said. That way, it protects him and his wife because somebody that's just already crazy, well, nobody's gonna, you know. But see, there's the thing: is back in fucking late '80s or so, David Icke and a few others, they had some classified stuff contained in their shit. So they wanted to find out how they were getting that stuff. You know, like, is this something we should worry about or just a lucky guess, a coincidence? But that's like maybe 1 to 5% of what they were saying. Not even enough to make the rest of what they were saying anything legitimate. Even though I agree that there's certain other dimensional type things, but that's not what he was talking about then. That and he was claiming to be Jesus Christ. So who the fuck's gonna listen to him? But they still wanted to know how did he find that out. These lizards. Is he talking about MI5 or MI6? What they call them certain slang. They use the term reptile or snake or whatever, which would be yeah, reptilians, lizards. Yeah. So you know, there's these little things that some people are paranoid enough to fucking go take a look at. So I guess that might be why I come across as somebody that's observant, like an investigator or some shit, from talking to people like that years ago. And then later on down the road, it's like, well, he let me do my stuff on his forum, so that was good. Alex Jones did. And Alex Jones is a prick. He's a conceited, arrogant motherfucker. I couldn't work with him. So yeah, I don't know how much to say about all that stuff because, like I said, I don't have my file, so I don't know what to say or not. You know, because some things are kept in house, so it doesn't even get classified. And it's kind of hard to hold somebody responsible for divulging anything classified if they have amnesia and they've requested for some kind of parameters or what the fuck's going on, and they're not giving it. So you know, any way I look at it, paranoid or not, you know, I need to fucking make you know. I guess that's why you know blowouts and repairs and all that other stuff doesn't stress me out because it's like, well, I don't have to think about this other stuff if I'm in survival mode, dealing with life on life's terms. when I got to go to court and I find out not just one court date, but 2 court dates last month that I could have been at. I called my fucking lawyer to ask him if there was any, and I don't get a call back or anything. Well, that's all matter of phone logs and messages left on his machine or whatever. They can cover it up all they want. There's still me dialing his number and being on his answering machine for a specified period of time, more than likely leaving a message before the court dates. Yeah, come on, the NSA's got to have records of my calls, right? Can we subpoena the NSA for those messages I left at the public defender's office? I'm sorry, but it's showing that he's either intentionally doing it or he's incompetent because he's an alcoholic, like I am. An alcoholic, if I could tell when somebody's a fucking alcoholic. We do our job really well when we're sober. When we're drunk, no. We're the last motherfucker you want doing anything for you. Alcoholic, you just fucking leave him alone until he's done drinking. Don't ask him to do, just fucking stay far fuck away from him as possible. That's my best advice on how to deal with an alcoholic. Because, and that's the best thing you can do for them too. But when the person's got booze coming off their breath in the middle of the day, and they got to be in court and all this other stuff, and you're noticing that your shit's kind of getting fucked off because they're drunk, and then all this happens, it's like, what am I supposed to do? I can't really report it to anybody. Who do I report something like that? Like, hey, I need another lawyer. Well, why do you need another lawyer? Because I believe that my current lawyer is an alcoholic, and his alcoholism is affecting his job, and it's affected my case. It's making me look like I'm not caring at all about what I need to do. Right? So, I'd rather talk to him personally and say, hey, man, could you, you were loaded, you had hangovers, all right, whatever, you do what you do, but could you take another, can you fix some of this? Could you put a little extra effort into it now? Because it was your fuck up to begin with. But now, I guess the courts, the judge, or whatever thinks that part of it's my doing, so I'm having to give 150% now. And you're sitting there smiling like you're fucking Mr. GQ cock of the walk from fucking Portland, Oregon. But you didn't like San Diego. Why, because San Diego's too conservative? Yeah, it's a military town. You gotta kind of be a little conservative. But how conservative do you think military personnel are? I'm liberal in thought, but conservative in action. I guess that would be kind of a mindset, huh? I'm imaginatively lazy. Because when I work, I have to fucking work my ass off. When I don't have to work, well, I'm gonna sit here, smoke a cigarette, and shoot the shit. So fuck off. However I appear, what stereotype you want to put me in, I'm supposed to just be disabled at birth. That's pretty good cover, don't you think? One life, they should have never connected that life with this life. There's just no way that they could have logically taken that leap unless they had a little help. Which part of me is grateful for? Because without that, well, they could have just fucking kept fucking doing the fucking amnesic shit, and it probably would have really fucked me up bad. Because while they can do that, they can't take away the emotional memory, the reflex, the reaction, the instinct. That's still there. They could take a portion of your memory, block it off and then not allow it to sit. And then there's the artichoke stuff where they use certain things to safeguard information if certain people have to go behind whatever and they might be captured, a way to safeguard, which would be to, like hitting a delete button. But I don't know, right? So yeah, there's no telling. If one group didn't get stupid, maybe the other group would have kept being stupid. It's probably one of the reasons why I'm not too angry or holding grudges towards a lot of people. But I realize they don't fucking understand what that's like, having that kind of mindset. Well, how are you gonna? Well, fucking glad you're not in the fucking military. We need to weed those fuckers out. When the war's over, two opposing sides, shit's settled. It's settled. You don't need to keep hating them. So if you keep hating on something after it's been settled, you're just gonna fire it back up. And why? Because you want to lose some more family members and you want to blame them for it? You'd rather have them take out your family members because then you can act like a victim rather than you having to deal with the psychotic family member. What? And that's like, oh, fuck, they came back. Some of them straighten out in the military, some of them just get worse. Right? But these are all things people don't admit openly. A lot of people have a hard time admitting it to themselves if they're like that. So yeah, who wants to talk about psychology and sociology and how people fuck with their own heads? And how other people instigate you fucking with your own head. And then who do you have to blame but yourself? So one way to alleviate the shame in that is say, well, you all go, well, you had a choice. You have a choice. And it's all about attitude. You chose. So that way everybody kind of shares the same kind of, yeah, let's see how your attitude does when somebody's holding a gun to your head. Let me hear you say you wouldn't hit a woman if some woman's holding a gun to your child's head or a parent's head or somebody's head. And the only way to stop them from killing that person is you have to hit them. Huh. You still going to tell me you're not going to hit a woman? Okay. Yeah, people take that wrong sometimes when you mention it. They think you're making an excuse. It's like, no, I didn't say this, that, or the other thing. But anyways, it's just like guys from Vietnam that had to kill children. Well, the kid was running at their vehicle with a fucking grenade. The kid's already dead, right? The kid's gonna blow itself up with that fucking grenade in their hand. So some shame that people live with is shame that they shouldn't live with. The shame's on the parents of that child that put the fucking grenade in their hand. They're the one that killed their fucking kid. So, yeah, why do people fucking, like, whatever, each group has its fucking pieces of shit. For some reason, me and the real fucking pieces of shit don't get along. And because of that, I piss a lot of other people off because everything was hunky-dory until I fucking walked in the room. I'm like, well, I didn't do shit. I'm sorry. you don't know why your boss or whoever the fuck you listen to is fucking scared or acting the way they're acting all of a sudden, and you think it's something I'm doing, or you realize that it's just my whatever. So if somebody said I caused the judge to be afraid, well, who's the judge? Maybe they don't need to be afraid, or maybe it's something I don't even know. I don't know. But if the Clintons took over Arkansas through the DOJ, why wouldn't they do the same thing somewhere else? Oh yeah, Stone over on the coast, Mr. People's Temple. Yeah. So if he's there and he's accepted even after all that, and nobody's talking about his trauma or how it might affect somebody with that kind of a job or how he might use his office or whatever, somebody with that level of discernment and decision making, um, that's okay. But me and my birth defect, I must have some serious problems mentally. Or maybe I overcame all those problems, and that's why I know what I know, is because I got ahead of the problem before it became a problem. Because I understood what problems I would be looking at later on in life. But hey, everybody has an IQ of fucking 50 as children, right? No, there's no such thing as geniuses or prodigies or any of that. But when you're talking about your kids, as you're sitting there in your tie-dye smelling like patchouli oil and sweat, your kid's an indigo child that can walk on water and they know quantum physics and they can speak 5 different languages. But when you meet the kid, fucking kid's drooling and wants another fucking ding dong or ho ho. Here's your fucking sugar pops and TV. Like, damn, I thought you were hit. You eat worse than the conservatives. Yeah, it's just fucked up what society's doing to itself. And the excuse making. Tolerance. I get tolerant. I have to be tolerant. I try not to judge, but I see the effects of people's decisions, mindsets, and shit. So I'm just trying to kill time until this afternoon, and I gotta figure out how to juggle shit. And turns out I need to file 2 claims on my truck. So they're gonna send me estimate for one, an estimate for the other, and I said, well, then go with whichever is gonna cost more, and then I'll look at the other and decide whether I need to file a claim. Because if it's just some spackle and some fucking nail polish, you know, hey, it's just a crack in fiberglass can snowball into some really fucked up shit later on down the road. And I don't like being somebody that files a claim for every little fucking thing, because then it, you see, then I fucking shoot myself in the ass doing that, because I see where, like, if you shoplift somewhere too much, they're gonna raise their fucking prices, right? So I try not to be part of that problem later on down the road. And sometimes people think I'm being a fucking prude or some square or some shit, and I'm sitting there going, no, just if I need that later on, I don't want to have to sit there and justify anything or defend myself. Because if I have insurance and I need it and I use it, that's what it's there for. But if I'm going to sit there and nitpick every little fucking hair, and because the one part, well, I do my own repairs and stuff, I could probably repair them both, or, well, I just get paid for the damages, right? That's what the insurance is there for. Because it does depreciate a little bit from the value, having dents and shit certain places, people tend to nitpick in certain areas. And I'm gonna get the front end alignment done. I think I told them that, didn't I? Yeah. Anyways, I'll see the estimate. Because I'd know if there was damage to the shocks or the front ball joints, that would be obvious. And yeah. So hopefully I'll get that soon, and I'll be able to not be so stressed about finances. Sell that truck, and because yeah, I have to be back here on the 18th most definitely. But I also have to check my mail or whatever. I gotta figure out where I'm gonna be parked for a while. So yeah, I don't mind not living here. A lot of fucking drama and politics for me. Isn't that funny? The stuff you try to stay as far away from as possible, unless it's like normal life stuff, ends up being what you have to deal with. Anyways, at least elsewhere in the country, I got thick skin about it. But this is personal here, you know. I went to high school here. I got family here. It's just, I understand the dynamics, and it's fucking frustrating because I see how people are manipulating one another and how it perpetuates and snowballs and becomes something that it didn't even start off as on all sides. And then there's those few that are intentionally orchestrating it. Anyways, like family politics. Yeah, drama and politics. I guess that would include family, huh? I run into people I don't know I'm even related to sometimes. I think I met an uncle that's like 20 years, yeah, technically you'd be an uncle, like 20 years younger than me. How the fuck did that happen? 10 years older than the relative. I guess, yeah, it's possible. There's over a 10-year age difference between me and my siblings, so maybe that's why people assume that I don't have family or whatever around. It's because of the age differences and things. Maybe it's just we have different lives, and because I left the house when I was basically like 15, and I've just been like that relative that visits every now and then since my siblings got old enough to start forming memories and shit, kind of thing. All they know is me and their stepdad hated each other, and none of them remember why he left. I got tired of him putting his hands on me, so I returned the favor for the first time, and he didn't stand up to it. So, and it kind of shocked him because of the size difference and whatever. So, I guess he realized that, you know, he'd been lighting the fuse of a stick of dynamite, and I got tired of putting it out. And that's where a lot of that anger comes from for me sometimes, is I get tired of putting that fuse out. When most people would understand that, hey, that motherfucker had every right to blow up. But I constantly put the fuse out so people expect it. But every now and then, it's like coming at me with a stick, I have to deal with it because I ain't going, I don't like getting hit in the head. But nobody understands what it's like when you see your father get hit in the head, huh? But everybody wants to be treated like they're victims because of whatever they saw or whatever trauma, and I'm sitting there like, okay. Um, hmm. And then anything that where I might have had to harm somebody in whatever I was doing in life, wherever, well, maybe I don't have any shame because they were pieces of shit that were murdering people, and they didn't help their own. They didn't help anybody else. They just were doing harm for political reasons. Maybe that's why I stay out of politics, because until politics gets violent, I don't want to have anything to do with it. When it starts getting violent, that's when it's called terrorism, right? Violent action to change the political structure or whatever is terrorism, right? Yeah. So, you know, and then hypocrisy. Yeah, America's been destabilizing and taking over countries and changing their political systems and structures for over 50 years. Yeah. So is Russia. So is China. It's one of those known hypocrisies. Some of it is logically justifiable, but at some point we need to start being honest and open about why. Is it for money? Is it for, or is it actually for human? And then, when you're trying to help somebody, if you're keeping everything in the shadows, at some point, there's people that operate in those shadows to get away with shit. I don't know why my dog likes rubbing on my TV, but oh man, just don't break that. I need to get a wall mount. So I don't know. I just don't understand why they. I thought my mother was bad about. I said, come on, I'm not fucking Captain America. Don't expect me to fucking act like it. That's a fucking fictional character, assholes. Why was I drinking? Well, drinking makes me weaker and stupider. It was a logical thing to do with as much as I was being attacked. And with my emotional state, I might have gone for the jugular. And there wouldn't have been shit anybody could have done about it. So to prevent that, well, I sabotaged. I prevented myself with what I saw was happening and coming. And I have to say, I love it when a plan comes together, even if I don't like the plan. But I could just be justifying things for an excuse to have gotten drunk. So I try to stay in that middle ground. But so yeah, I gotta try to set aside at least $50. I figure make sure that I'm here on the 18th. Um, Although my lawyer did say I could just either fax it or I could mail it to them, the proof of meeting attendance. So I might do that. Depends on how things go, what the insurance claim is. I should look up how much a bumper for that truck will cost. Because that was the one thing about that truck is it had very few dents and dings and stuff. It was something that, you know, a few repairs and bam. But repairs ended up costing more, and then a few other issues, and it's like I'm going to take a big loss on that truck in the long run. Although maybe the universe is covering part of that loss through this whatever hit the back end of it. Um, so yeah, when people do these things, I notice that when I'm sober, doing what I should be doing and what I think I should be doing, things tend to work out somehow. Things balance out. Little miracles happen all over the place. And I think that's what really creeps people out sometimes, and they wonder how I'm doing it. And I'm like, well, check this out. I ain't doing half the shit. That was a miracle, that was a miracle, that was a miracle. What do you mean by miracle? Well, something made from nothing. A simple definition of a miracle. Grace is a miracle, right? An unearned gift. Things like that, right? They're miracles. Especially if they don't have some crazy ass political fucking agenda behind it. Because God doesn't work with politics and simple fucking human agendas like that. There's a major trickle down. Or trickle up, I don't know. Structures are reflected as above, so below. Every fucking culture talks about the simple basics, but everybody wants to fucking just paint their flowers into it and say, look at me most of the time. So they confuse the fuck out of everything and they forget the basic stuff. And that turns into dogmas because they need to protect their flowers. You know, after a few years of, yeah, I don't know. I like building on what works. The simple basics, and from there you see what works, what stands solid on the basics, and then you're building something. You're not just creating. You're not just nurturing some flower because it's going to draw a crowd or gain attention. It's going to die, and then you're going to have to do it again. And so you're just doing the same thing over and over again. But because the flower itself produces a different color or whatever, yeah, anyways. So they're planting a garden on top of a building, and they're not using the internal rooms. They're not using the facilities. They're just putting a garden on top of the building and calling it a flower garden. Isn't it pretty? People see the outside of the building and they figure that's the foundation, but they never see the inner workings of the foundation, right? They don't go into the guts of the machine. Garden on top of buildings, rather a nice idea, actually. But if you're only letting people have access to the garden on the roof, then they're missing what's inside that building. How you might be utilizing that garden in other aspects. I guess that's the difference between your flowery priest and somebody that actually is concerned with civilization. do you put it? Why have kings and emperors and things like that phased out? Maybe it was part of a long-term plan that some people dreamt of because they got tired of having to rule as kings. Maybe it was like, we're gonna have to do this, and then we're gonna have to do, and so then he goes and talks to another king. So yeah, I wouldn't mind having a bunch of kings, living in a neighborhood and everybody's a king or whatever. Everybody governs themselves and polices themselves, and they maintain their resources, and they know how to budget, and we get together at these certain points as like collectives, and we exchange goods and services, and maybe it was all a council of kings that said, hey, let's develop something into this, and that way we alleviate ourselves from all this stress, and we still retain freedom and the right to prosper with the work that we put in. And we're already working our fucking asses off maintaining a fucking kingdom. You think all this was because of some uprising? Peasant, please. You want me to be royally fucking arrogant? Alright. There's my royal fucking arrogance. What's the channel's name again? Yeah, that's my ancestor. He was also a Latin king. Not to be confused with the fucking gang. No, I'm not Hispanic either. Italy was Latin. It was the first Latin kingdom, Italy. Albalonga, which is probably why some people think I'm Italian. There's probably an Etruscan or something in the woodpile 2,000 years ago. Actually, it'd be about 22 to 2,300 years ago. I don't fucking know. So after having to deal with all that stuff, even though it was so long ago, and I figured, well, that's interesting. There's a lot of people related to the same people, kind of thing, big deal. But then after being attacked and all this other stuff and how I'm treated in the courts and I'm supposed to act appropriately or whatever, well, why? Who the fuck are you? If I'm supposed to be what the fuck ever, well, who are you? Oh, okay. I can dig it. I don't mind. But how? Why don't you guys give me a list of things and let me see, what I might need help with, and I'll let you know what programs I need. Or you're gonna wait until I fuck up or whatever, or I'm not doing it the way you want, but you don't know what I have to deal with. I mean, they make movies about us. My bloodline. Some of your archetypes are based on my bloodline. Which I found out, and there it is right there. Back in 98, when I had all them psych evals done in Missouri, what it came out as is exactly what my bloodline is known for. Nature versus nurture, huh? Well, ironically, I've gone through some of the trials and tribulations that are associated with the specific archetype within the bloodline. So it could be a little of both, or maybe it's just all based on nature and I would have turned out this way anyways. But who's to say? I'd have probably made a lot more mistakes if I grew up with a silver spoon shoved up my ass. But we've never been that type. We've actually been at war pretty much with Rome for 2,000 years plus. We held them off for over 60 years or so. So about, let's just say 2,070 years. Oh wait, plus 18. 2,068 years. Somewhere around there. Yeah, Camalodunum fell to Rome at the same time that Jerusalem fell. Rather interesting coinkydink, huh? Oh, there's other coincidences involved too. Like I said, I look at it like, oh, that's interesting. And whatever it means, well, it could mean something to me personally, but it doesn't involve somebody else or whatever. So why? And what's the point in talking about it? If other people want to make some of it, fine, whatever. But what you make of it might not be what it is. Unless you ask me, well, I don't know what to tell you. Big deal. But since I was attacked for it and a bunch of other stuff, I figured, well, I guess I need to own it. People are trying to take it, then that must mean I own it. And they're having a hard time taking it. Because they can't get me to conform to whatever fucking insanity they're fucking dealing with. Yeah, Oppenheimer, fuck Oppenheimer. Yeah, how did these they fucking played a fucking really extravagant game. Oh, they're fucking intellectuals and they're predators. So why wouldn't they? They can't frontal assault you. But maybe they hope to manipulate me to be their frontal assault. Why would they try to manipulate me to be that? Sorry, I guess they're gonna lose the war, huh? Because they don't have me for their frontal assault kind of crap, do they? Whatever that is, whether it's psychological or physical or whatever, it doesn't matter. Or speaking in kind of metaphors or whatever. I mean, they're literal in some sense, but they're metaphorical in another sense. So, speaking in mixed company like this is very difficult at times because sometimes people take it as violent speech or whatever, or intimidating. It's like, no, that's not what it's intended as. Just talking about this kind of stuff, this is what is said. You're dealing with extremes. What I would assume would be kind of high levels of societal decision making of a sort. So, I don't know what to say. I don't know how serious other people take that stuff. Obviously, serious enough to do what they did to me on certain levels, because, or maybe they just use that as an, I don't know. But anyways, it is what it is, right? Who's to say what it is? God's God. I just know what I have to deal with on a daily basis, and I know they practice certain dark arts and through whatevers. So, yeah, how do I protect myself? Well, I think that little pig sticker they call Caliburnus. Oh, you know it as Excalibur. Well, the actual name of Excalibur was Caliburnus. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's not about the sword. Maybe it's more about God protecting people or some shit. I probably should wrap this up and go to my next stop. So, after I roll a cigarette. Where did I put that? I know what I gotta go do. So with that, much love. Keep me in your prayers. I'll pray for whoever deserves it, kind of thing. God help those who deserve it. Pretty simple, huh? I believe in well, see, there's like walking meditation, meditations you move to do, and stuff like that. Well, I believe there's certain prayers that are said through actions. Um, so yeah, I believe that certain prayers are said through your actions and what you're doing. Hard to explain, but yeah, it's like using a kata for a meditation. It's just, well, prayer and meditation operate by a lot of the same principles, right? So if you're doing some martial arts kata, or you're working on something, or you're cleaning something, it could be a physical representation of the prayer. Yeah, that's why my apartment was such a mess. And I want people to see how fucked up this shit has gotten. The place that it's put me in was a representation of society. Now I'm untangling from that energy, which is probably why I had to blow out and all this other stuff. But now I'm sounding too much like a hippie. So, just kidding. I know I give hippies a hard time. So, with that, y'all have a good day. Maybe I'll do one later on. Hopefully everything works out today. Catch y'all later.